Hello, I'm Collin Mister, aka DOS Dude 1. I'm just kidding. I'm really bad at impersonating him. But anyway, I'm Greg Rudke of Rudke Mods, and welcome guys to episode 3, well, part 3 of the world's fastest 2008 Unibody MacBook. And basically, today's video is going to be another interesting one. We're going to be upgrading this 2008 Unibody MacBook right here with a 2011/2012 MacBook Pro keyboard here. Now this keyboard is literally the same as the keyboard in there, except this has the backlight keycaps on it right here, and also the updated dashboard and other keys on here. And it also has a slightly different font, which we'll show you in a second. It's more updated, more modern Mac as compared to that one right there. Why are we doing that? Well, technically I don't even have to replace this keyboard. That keyboard in that system looks pretty decent, but it's slightly worn. The MacBook was lovingly taken care of, but the keycaps are starting to show their age a little bit. And I want this keyboard to look really nice, because the rest of the case, other than the dent on the screen, looks really good. I even replaced the bottom case a little while back. But anyway, the main reason why we're replacing the whole keyboard is even though the keyboard in this should work with it, I wanted the backlight keys on the keyboard because, well, we're going to be installing the backlight from this is supposed to be also be from a MacBook Pro, and it's also 100% compatible. The late 2008 Unibody MacBooks, the 2.4 gigahertz model, had backlight keys from the factory, which I didn't know this until a few weeks ago. But the 2 gigahertz, of course, didn't. This has no backlight keys whatsoever. We'll show you really in a second about that. But some 2.0 boards had the header for backlight keys. Some didn't, though. This one, according to Collin, does. I haven't actually looked, but he says it does, so we're going to say it does. So we're going to be installing the backlight and making a backlight keyboard for the MacBook, and it will make it even harder to tell that this is not a MacBook Pro. And right next to it right now we have my late 2007 MacBook Pro, which I am going to be following a tutorial on iFixit.com, which I'll leave a link in the description below, on how to put this backlight in and how to swap out the keyboard. It's pretty straightforward, but it is going to be a long time lapse for me, and that's going to sleep right now. The battery is brand new. I just replaced it. But it's running on battery power right now. That's why the screen just dimmed. But yeah, it's all ready to go. We'll be doing this tutorial. It's going to be it's not really a tutorial. It's just you watching me swap out this board and then showing you the aftermath. Basically, I won't be going step by step. You'll just be watching a time lapse because, for instance, the keyboard itself literally has 66 screws holding it in. So once I get down to the keyboard, I've got to take out 66 screws, which is going to take a long time. But anyway, so yeah, we're getting ready to do everything. We'll quickly show you what the keyboard looks like right now and what it does by itself. And then we'll start up the time lapse. So let's get into it. Okay, so here's the original keyboard right here. As we can see, it's non-backlit. If we play with the backlight keys, first off, there are none. And second off, it's not glowing. If we turn off the light, no glow, no backlight. Okay? And here is the new keyboard we're going to be installing here. And as we can see the updated keys here and the backlight keys. And if you look, the font is a little different. These letters are slightly thicker, and for instance, if you look at the O here, the O is a little more ovular, more oval right here than the later one, which is more of a circle. So this keyboard, it's got updated caps. This is a brand new keyboard. Doesn't look like it's ever been used whatsoever. If we look, we can also see these are all screw holes. I've got to put all these screws in. It's going to be really fun. But anyway, yeah, this should work perfectly. And then we've got the backlight here, which plugs into a connector somewhere around here on the board. And, you know, we'll be all ready and set to do all this. So let's set up for the time-lapse. So before I go with the time-lapse setup here, I would like to quickly address a few things on the bottom of this. Now, a lot of this Mac has changed since the last videos you saw with it. For instance, this whole panel is brand new. And literally the day I uploaded the last video, I dropped the MacBook. But I caught it in mid-air, believe it or not. But even though I caught it in mid-air, I caught it and slammed it into the side of my chair. And the aluminum on the bottom of these are very, very, very thin. And this is the old panel. I tried to get the dents out. It put a dent here and a dent here, slamming it into the arm on my chair, my computer chair, and it barely hit. I tried to beat it out, and it made it worse. Plus, there was this nasty scratch on it. It didn't look super great to begin with. But, yeah. So, I got a new panel for like $17 on eBay. And this new panel is in mint condition. Not a mark on it. It's just a little dirty. But, it's a nice new panel. The other thing that has changed since the last time you guys saw this is a newer tech battery. And this thing is better than factory, and it should last probably twice as long. And as I addressed in the second video, the old battery died at 60% no matter what. Even calibrated, it would die at 60%. So this new battery, this lasts forever. It's an incredible battery. So that's the other thing that changed. The last thing that changed was I changed out the LED assembly here, which has the screen switch in it and a bunch of other things. And I found out that the old one actually was fine. The board connector for it is actually, there's something wrong with it. I don't know what's wrong with it. Collin thought there was something wrong with it too when he was putting it all back together. We can't figure out what was wrong with it. The connector doesn't seem to want to go in, and once it does go in, it wants to fall back out. We have no clue why. So the connector's messed up. I may never have a screen switch, IR sensor, or LED there with this board. I might be able to fix it, and I might attempt to fix it in this video, but we'll see what happens. So anyway, so we're going to set this up now for the time-lapse to install all that. So let's get to it. Okay, so I hope this is a good enough angle. So let's start getting everything going. So there's actually not 66 screws. There might be 66 holes, but there's not 66 screws. There's only 50 screws. Some of these screw holes don't line up properly. It's going to fit in a little differently, I think. But most of them are the same. That might be a little problem there. But here are the two keyboards. And the backs. And I think it should be a direct swap in. I did think I damaged the original power button a little bit, but don't need that, so it's not a big deal. So now I've just got to do this in reverse. Yippee! All 50 screws, minus the ones that won't screw in. I don't know, I might be lucky here. That is a little different on the end, but it should still drop right in, hopefully. Let's see. I gotta hold this in my lap for a second. Okay, so I've made an educated decision, and I've decided to put all these screws back in while it's on my lap so I can see what I'm doing. So we'll get back to this in a second. Okay, so even though I had one less screw hole because the MacBook Pro keyboard is a little different right here, I still got all 50 screws in, which I still can't figure that one out. But they're all in. The keyboard's nice and sturdy. I've got the power button screwed in. Everything's nice. Now we've got to figure out how to put this backlight on. And that's going to be the fun part. Okay. So this should just glue right back into place. I gotta line it up perfectly. How do I line it up? How does it line up? Like that? Anyway, it sits down like this, and then you glue it in. I'm going to do that off camera so I can actually see what I'm doing. Okay. So we have the backlight glued in, and in case you're wondering what the connector for the backlight looks like on the board, it is right here on the board. So when it's laying in the case, it'd be like this. You can see the connector right here. Okay, so if you don't have that connector, you can't do the backlight mod, although you could probably solder one on. I think the hardware is probably still there for it, but not all 2.0s had it. So if you don't have that little connector right next to the keyboard connector, you're SOL. But anyway, I am going to start piecing this back together, and we'll get back to the video when I have it back together in one piece. At least I hope. Okay, now with the light connector plugged in, that's what the connector is right there, and that's what this whole assembly is supposed to look like. I'm not sure if I got the keyboard plugged in yet. In fact, the connector looks a little different. I've been told it should be 100% compatible. So hopefully it works. We'll see when we turn it on. But yeah, that's what the light connector looks like right there. Alright, we've got it fully reassembled, and we got the new keyboard on. To remind you what it looked like, here's the old one. And this new keyboard has the new font on it, the new keycaps, all the new buttons here. It feels right. It fits perfectly, really. I have not powered it on yet. I don't know if any of it works. We're going to find that out together. So let's find out together. Power button works. So the backlight does indeed work, but do the keys work? That's the big question. Try brightness. Brightness controls work. Let's see what it looks like in the dark. It's what it looks like in the dark. All the brand new keys seem to be working with the brightness anyway. We will find out if the keyboard itself works though. So let's pull up something and just test some keys. Let's pull up text edit. See if caps lock works. Caps lock light works here. New document. I just realized you're not actually saying it type. Oops. There we go. It seems to be working perfectly. Enter, 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 space, space, space. Caps lock. Enter. Up, I've got a stuck key right here. The arrow key's stuck. I have to work on that. But it looks like otherwise it's working. Uh-oh. Well, that's not good. I'll figure that one out. It looks like it just needs shoved over a little bit. But otherwise, every other key is working fine. I'll see what I can do about that key there. And I'll be right back. So I figured out that the MacBook Pro keyboard's left arrow key is slightly wider, as we can see here. And now I'm trying to figure out how to fit the old key into the assembly here. Looks like I'm going to be using the old arrow key, which has a little bit of a different finish, but it fits. I could technically just widen this hole a little bit, but that would require taking the entire thing apart again, which I'm not doing. So, yeah, that's the only problem I've ran into so far, so that's a good thing, I guess. Okay, after playing with these and trying to get the old key to fit on the new assembly, it's just not going to happen. They're both made differently, and one's just too long. So I've sanded the edge down on the new keycap, and I'm going to put some black paint on the side of it so the light doesn't show through as much. It might still be noticeable, and it's not exactly flush, but then the left arrow key should work, and I shouldn't have any more problems. I don't have a clue why Apple redesigned the length of that key the way they did, because it's totally different length as this. I've never noticed that before, and I have no clue why they decided to do that. It's really stupid. So anyway, I'm going to paint the key, put the hinge back on, and we'll hopefully be done. So I haven't painted the key. There's barely any left of plastic right there for it to work, but this does work now. It doesn't look terribly awful, but it doesn't look super great either. So I'm going to straight out say that the 2009 through mid 2009 through mid 2012 MacBook keyboards aren't compatible with the MacBook. They're wired the same, they're basically laid out the same, but the left arrow key is longer, and there's one mounting point that's slightly different. Other than the left arrow key, though, it is 100% compatible. Yeah, I know I said it wasn't, but it is. It's just not totally compatible, as we can see. Yeah, that's where it bugged me. I've got to figure out a way to get the old key to fit. Which still won't look quite right because the old key's a little bit different looking. But it still works. The key works. You can left, right, up, down. It works. And I can even show you up here. If you can follow the cursor, left, up, down, left, up. You know, it works. It works. It just doesn't quite fit right, which really is going to bother me. But I can't do a whole lot about that. I'll have to figure out something. But right now, hey, the keyboard works. It's got the fully updated keyboard, all the caps. It's a MacBook Pro keyboard. It works. It works totally fine. I've tested every single key on it. It looks incredible on the system, as we can see. It's a really good looking keyboard, and the backlight works great too. As you saw, no complaints there. That left arrow key is going to drive me crazy. I have to figure out something for it. Maybe if I put some paint on it, I can't get my paint to pry open, but maybe if I put some paint on it, it won't bother me as much. But other than that, everything seems to be finished up on this system. I don't think the sleep switch works. Nope. I tried to fix that again. It's still not fixed. But as we can see here, with the new battery and everything looks and works great. And other than that, that's basically the end of today's video. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget, now that I am sponsored by SellYourMac.com, if you'd like to check them out and sell an Apple product, SellYourMac.com/RutKMods. And don't also forget that I am now, I do have a Patreon. If you'd like to help support me, I'll have a link at the end of the video and also in the description. And once again, that's the end of today's video, and thank you for watching. This has been a RutKMods video. Okay guys, here's a little more bonus material for you. If you look, the button is a little lopsided on that edge, but it's squared up, and I have successfully painted it. It still doesn't look super great, but almost looks good. You really can't tell a whole difference. Unless you were really looking for it, you'd never really notice it. So yeah, that's how you get the keyboard to work. A MacBook Pro keyboard and a old Unibody MacBook. Anyway, once again, thanks for watching. One more bit of bonus material here. Does the keyboard work with Windows? It does indeed. Boot Camp works great with it, as we can see here. That's awesome.